All right, thank you, Victoria. So to start off about the student accommodation locations, as you can see on the map here, we have the Hammersmith location, the West Kensington location, and then the Tower Hill location. So we are working with two different companies, Anglo-American Educational Services, which will be the West Kensington and the Tower Hill. And then we have Condo Keeper, which is the Hammersmith location. As I mentioned briefly before, Hammersmith is only available for our fall 24 visitors. So anybody who's staying for the full academic year will not be at Hammersmith. They will be at either West Kensington or Tower Hill. All rooms are shared occupancy. So there is an apartment that has, between 2 to 4 bedrooms and 2 students per bedroom. All of them have shared kitchens and common spaces. Bedding and all kitchen supplies are included. It also includes a weekly cleaning. And then the Richmond student staff will live on site, as I mentioned on the slide before. And then we have 2 different contract lengths. We have a 16-week contract, which is for our fall-only visitors. And then we have the 35-week contract for the full year students. Move-in day is Monday, September 2nd. And so if students are just staying here for 16 weeks, they will move out on December 23rd. And if they're staying for the full 35 weeks, that will be May 5th. So I'll just give a little brief, pictures and videos of each location just so you can see. We do have some on our website as well, but this is our Hammersmith location. Give me one quick second. I do apologize, for some reason this video is not able to play, but I will continue on with the presentation and then I'll see if I can fix that by the end when we have more questions about housing. The next slide is just photos, so that will be a little bit easier. This is West Kensington. So the Hammersmith property does look very similar to the West Kensington property. They're almost the same and they're only about a 10-minute walking distance from one another. So this is a good representation if your student is going to be at Hammersmith, just for now. And then we also have our Tower Hill accommodation, which these are the facilities that we have here: an indoor pool, a rooftop garden, and a gym on site. It is a little bit different from the West Kensington and the Hammersmith property, as it's right in the center of London. It's in a very modern high-rise building versus West Kensington and Hammersmith. They're a little bit more, local, what, an average typical Londoner would be living in. And this is what the apartments look like. I know it is pictured here as a double bed, but don't worry, there will not be any large beds. There will be 2 twin beds in every room, as there will be 2 students in every room. So again, most of you have probably already gone through the housing process, but just a recap, or if for some reason you have not, this is the typical process. So the first step is that you accept your offer to study at Richmond. And then you would complete a housing application form and pay your damage deposit. And this damage deposit is £250 and it will be reimbursed to the student after they move out. This is just to guarantee, obviously, that there are no damages while they live there. Number 3 is that you wait for a housing offer from me, usually 48 to 72 hours from the time I receive your application. Then you can review the offer and accept or decline, and just contact me with any questions if for some reason you don't like the location or you would change your mind about your roommate or something like that. Then you will pay that damage deposit to officially accept the offer and hold your room. And then you'll sign your tenancy agreement, which as of this point, I have not sent out the tenancy agreements yet. I'm waiting for some of the rooms to still fill up a little bit. So probably in late July, early August is when those will be sent out. And then move-in day will be September 2nd, 2024. Again, you can view photos on our website with the prices, more information about all 3 of these properties just on our normal website /accommodation. So I can put that in the chat when I'm done chatting as well. So next we're going to talk about student visas and immigration, and I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Jenna.
All right, thank you, Brittany. Okay. Right, so we'll start off looking at student visas for visitors. So these would be students coming for 1 semester, up to 6 months. So if you're from the US or Canada, you don't need to apply for your visitor visa in advance of your travel. You'll receive your immigration permission when you arrive in the UK. More often than not, you'll go straight through an e-gate, but you could be asked to show some documentation about your reasons for wanting to visit the UK. So what we do is provide you with a letter that you can carry so that you can show that at immigration if you need to. Please remember that your passport should have at least 6 months validity when you're traveling, and you'd be given permission to enter the UK and to stay in the UK for up to 6 months from your date of arrival. Visitors will need to remember travel insurance and health insurance because you're not applying for a student route visa. This isn't included. You don't pay the immigration health surcharge. So it's really important that you remember travel insurance and health insurance. Okay. Right. If you're coming for 1 year or a full degree, then you will need to come on a student route visa. In order to apply for your visa, you would obviously need your passport, evidence of finances, showing that you can support yourself whilst you're here in the UK, evidence of your previous study, so most likely, your high school diploma or academic transcripts. And in some cases, you may need to provide a TB certificate as well. Now, the admissions team will allocate your CAS. Your CAS is an electronic document. It's I can't remember how many digits it is now, but that's what you'll need to apply for your visa. If we go on to the next slide, please. This is a very quick overview. I know that the visa process can seem quite overwhelming, so we're absolutely here to support you through that process. When applying for your visa, we'll need to check your documents first. So you'll send your documents to us, we'll check over them, make sure that they meet all of the requirements, and then we'll issue your CAS. Then the next step is for you to fill in and complete your online visa application. You'll also pay for the immigration health surcharge and the visa application fee. Now, the immigration health surcharge is a compulsory payment, and this will give you access to the NHS, the National Health Service here in the UK. It's something that you have to pay in order to submit your visa application. And once you've paid the IHS fee, you pay the visa application fee, and you'll be directed to book a biometrics appointment. And when you go to your biometrics appointment, they'll take your photo, they will take your fingerprints, and they'll leave you with a confirmation slip that you'll need to then send off with the rest of your documents. Once you've attended your biometrics appointment, this is for US students, you would be posting, in most cases, your passport off to the New York office if you're going for the standard processing. And then it's just a case of waiting for your visa decision. And you need to post your passport within 5 days of your biometrics appointment. So please be mindful of that when you're going through this process. Not everyone goes for standard processing. So if you are applying through one of the premium centres, for example, there will be different instructions, and you should follow the instructions you're given at your appointment. Once you get your decision back, standard processing time is about 3 weeks. I would say as we get further into the summer, it could be a bit longer. So just please be really mindful of timings. Once you get your decision back, you'll receive your passport, and your passport will have a sticker in it, a visa vignette. And this is just for entry to the UK. It's not your actual visa. It's a 90-day vignette and you need to enter the UK within that date. It's really important that you don't enter prior to the start date of your vignette, because of course then you're entering as a tourist and not as a student. Once you are here in the UK, you'll be able to collect your biometrics residence permit, your BRP. This will be your actual visa, although please don't worry when you collect your BRP if it's only valid until the 31st of December 2024. And that's because the system is moving to a digital format. So you would need to register with a UKVI account. This is all quite new, and we're waiting for sort of updated guidance on how this is all going to work. So I don't think it's anything that you need to worry about right now. I would just say that the priority is really to get your visa application submitted. When you receive your passport back, you should also have a visa decision letter. This is sometimes in hard copy or is sometimes emailed to you, and you should check your visa decision letter, because the visa decision letter will have the start date of your visa and the end date of your visa, and though that should match the dates that have been entered on your CAS. Okay. Working in the UK, so working whilst you're here with us as a student, if you're here for just one semester, then you are not allowed to work, I'm afraid. So just enjoy your 6 months and make the most of it. If you're here on a student route visa, then you can work for up to 20 hours a week during term time and then full time during holiday periods. That does exclude the dissertation period, just for any postgraduate students here with us. But yeah, up to 20 hours during term time, and then full time when classes are not happening. Like I said, if you're a visiting student, I'm afraid you can't work. And just be careful, because this is also relates to sort of internships and voluntary work as well. But if you have any questions about that, you can let us know. Oh, okay. I think I'm done.
Thanks, Gemma.
Thanks, Addison.
I will take over from here. Thank you.
Okay, no worries. Thank you.
Sorry for joining just a bit late. My name is Allison Kolstutz. I'm Vice President for Student Affairs. So I've tuned in today to tell you a little bit about student health, well-being, and access, and a few other topics to follow. So I think, Brittany, you're controlling my slides. Thank you. Monica De Freitas is our Student Health and Wellbeing Officer, and unfortunately she can't be with us today, but she did fill me in on the many things that she does to support our students. As a dedicated health and wellbeing support officer, she runs our counseling program, which offers 6 free counseling sessions to students every term, every student. This is professional counselors who work with us on a part-time basis, and they also see students entirely confidentially. So it is a well-used service, certainly one that many of our students drop in on, some use somewhat more regularly. I think Gemma mentioned, as part of your visa, if you are on a student route visa, you will have access to UK healthcare through the National Health Service. If you're studying with us just as a 6-month visitor, you won't. So we do ask that you get travel insurance to cover medical expenses while you're here. It doesn't mean that you will see different doctors. You will see absolutely the same doctors probably, and go to the same doctor's offices, and our Residence Life team and Student Affairs group will be familiar with places to go and doctors to see. Monica can provide all sorts of information about accessing the National Health Service or private doctors. She can also give you advice on appeals and petitions if you find yourself missing a number of classes due to medical circumstances or other reasons. She offers sexual health advice and information, again, oversees our university counseling services, certainly checks in on students who are at risk or have safeguarding concerns, and she is a great connection to a number of local services and charities that work with young people studying in the UK. As I mentioned, our counseling service is run by a number of professional people, and we've got the top row here are the 4 that serve us in London, and the bottom 3 are the 3 that serve us in Leeds. Each of these counselors has a professional qualification and is licensed to practice in the UK. They also generally run their own businesses, so they might support other clients outside of Richmond, but they specialize in working with international young people. We do have profiles of each of them posted on our website, so students can go in, sort of virtually meet counselors and make a decision on who they'd like to see, and then they contact them to set up an appointment. We do offer a private counseling room on campus, but we also let students know that they can see these counselors at their private offices around London if they feel more comfortable doing that. Since all of the services are confidential, we don't know who uses the service, but we do have an idea of how frequently it's used, and I can tell you, since COVID, it has increased significantly, and students are making a lot of good use of this offering. So healthcare in the UK, as we mentioned, is free, not entirely free, because when you pay your student route visa application, you also have to pay into a National Health Service charge. But that does mean if you are on a student route visa, you can go to the doctor without having to make a payment. I should say that if you find yourself in an emergency situation, whether you are a visitor or a normal resident on a student route visa, you will be seen. The hospital will not turn you away, and certainly they will see you and diagnose you and support you. Of course, if you are not a member of the National Health Service, they will bill you afterwards, but ideally your travel insurance will cover that, and it would be important to look into that to see on what level your coverage is. So generally, if you're visiting England for more than 6 months, you would be on either a student route visa or potentially a working visa, and you would be paying a health surcharge to basically buy into the National Health Service. That would give you free access. As a visitor staying less than 6 months, you would not be required to make this payment, and so you do not have free access to the health service. It doesn't mean that you can't see the same doctor privately, but you would have to pay for this. So Alice Fillingham is our Student Accessibility Officer. She is, lucky her, on holiday this week, so not here with us, unfortunately, but she oversees our program to support students with specific educational needs. So what Alice does is try to meet with students before they arrive in London, get an idea of the sorts of support and concessions that students might need in order to be successful both in the classroom and through assessments and assignments. She will then draw up a personalized plan for each individual student and meet with that student to talk them through what we can do. A lot of the support that we offer our students at Richmond is accessible to everyone. And that is in the form of open access workshops, faculty office hours, peer tutoring, peer mentoring, online writing support, language support, and a number of other areas. We also support students who may have some challenges in adjusting to higher education and need a little help with study skills. But Alice's role is really to support students who may struggle because of specific educational needs. So that might be dyslexia or dyspraxia. It could be autism. It could be a number of different issues or concerns that students have. And she will help support students with reasonable adjustments to make sure that they are successful. So budgeting and finances, I know this is probably on the top of the list of parents' concerns. Moving to London does mean probably that your budget will increase slightly. London is quite an expensive city, but there are creative ways that you can save some money and live inexpensively. And some of this has to do with talking to people who have done it before. So one of the key things that we tell students to do at orientation or even before is to make a budget and try to stick to it. And within that budget, you should definitely include food because that is not included with your housing, transport between places in London, and any of the essentials, so school supplies or personal items that somebody might need. There are student discounts, and there are a number of apps now making it very easy to cash in on student discounts, which we will talk about during orientation and before on our Blackboard course. We try to encourage students to avoid big purchases, especially students who are using US loans to finance their education. So they may get a big disbursement at the start of the academic year, and before you know it, with one big purchase, that disappears amazingly quickly. So think about how to manage all of that. We do host free and subsidized events every week. So if students are looking for things to do, activities to take part in, we publish a newsletter every Monday showcasing all sorts of events and activities that are either low or no cost. We do encourage students to keep their money safe. London has gone almost entirely cashless, so it's actually really hard to spend cash in London. Most people use contactless cards, which often makes budgeting a little trickier, but maybe also a little bit easier. Depends on how you look at it. We do tell students if they are facing financial problems, something's happened to change their situation, they should talk to us in the Student Hub, and we'll give them some advice and guidance and support. We will be publishing some students' top tips on our Instagram page and also in our new student orientation on Blackboard to help get new students in the mindset of how to budget. All right, so new student orientation, as Brittany mentioned, our move-in day is the 2nd of September, and we will be running orientation from the 3rd all the way through the weekend until classes start on the 9th of September. We will shortly be contacting your students with information about new student orientation. We're developing a dedicated website where they can get all of the information about the schedule for the week. We will be hosting events and activities every day of the week, and we'll also offer some FAQs so students can read through those and see if some of their questions can be answered. Obviously, if they're not there, we can respond to those queries in person or on email. The orientation schedule is a series of events, some of which are repeated. So we will be asking students to book their places and fill up a schedule for the week. So ideally, by the time a student arrives on the 2nd, they know exactly where they need to be for the next 6 days of orientation. Some of this pre-orientation information, in it, we will ask students to set up their IT services. So they will get an Outlook account and access to Office 365. They'll also join Blackboard, which is our virtual learning environment. Blackboard is also what will follow them throughout their Richmond career. So every one of their courses at Richmond will have a Blackboard page. And we'll ask them to sign up to events and activities so they can meet each other virtually. We did, in advance of this webinar, I think in our last webinar, send out some information for students to join WhatsApp communication groups. And we will send that out again after this webinar to make sure that they've got it. So really importantly, before students arrive on the 2nd of September, we will expect them to be able to access all of those IT services, be online, and be receiving and responding to emails on their university account, and have read through our orientation course on Blackboard. Some of our students will be asked to take placement tests, and this is to ensure that they're placed in the right academic writing course or math course if they're studying business, computer science, or psychology. If you're lucky enough not to have to take a placement test, congratulations. But most of our students probably will. This isn't a test you can study for. It's just simply a test to make sure that you're placed in the right level of course on arrival. So we will be picking up students at Heathrow Airport on Monday, the 2nd of September. Very shortly, our international office will be sending out a Microsoft form once you have access to your email so that you can book your place and tell us when you arrive. Generally, what happens is Maggie Burton, one of our international office team members, will be out at the airport with a group of students, all in Richmond shirts, and they'll be welcoming students at different terminals. Just to warn you, Heathrow has 5 terminals. It's quite a busy place. So we will be trying to collect people, get them into transport and 3 different residence halls, all throughout Monday, the 2nd of September. But if you do have questions about that service, certainly let us know. So our orientation week, this is just a really brief overview, and there will be much more to add. We'll be adding a lot more detail on our dedicated website for new student orientation. But as we mentioned, Monday, the 2nd of September is our residential move-in. Students will have the opportunity to meet their resident advisor or resident director, and we'll be hosting some get-to-know-you activities so that they're used to the neighborhood and are becoming familiar with the people living around them. On Tuesday, the 3rd of September, we will ask you to bring in passports and visas. As Gemma mentioned, if you're on a student route visa, we'll ask for your visa decision letter as well. We will check all of your documents, input your London living address, take your UK mobile phone number if you've got it, or your international mobile phone number, and take any emergency contacts that you have. We'll also give you an opportunity to meet our lovely librarians and tour the library. We'll host a Living in London session, which will help get you ready to travel around the capital, potentially open a bank account if that's something that you want to do. We'll talk about mobile phones, student discounts, and all things London. And there's also a mandatory visa session. So those sessions will be repeated again on the 4th of September. And I mentioned you can book into one that suits you the best. We'll be hosting a dedicated session just for visiting students, just for students studying either a single term or 2 terms with us on the 1st of September. Not sure how to mute people, but if you aren't muted, I would appreciate if you did mute yourself. On Thursday, the 5th of September, we will have Meet Your Major sessions. This is when you'll get to know some of the other students studying in your major area. So we'll have communications, business, social sciences, and computer science. You'll also start to meet some of the faculty who will be teaching on your program, and we'll host a reception so that you can do that in an informal setting. Finally, on Friday, the 6th of September, we will be hosting a Student Government Association welcome where you'll meet the president and the vice president for academics. And if you haven't gotten registered yet, by Friday the 6th, we'll help you get registered on that day. As I mentioned, we'll be hosting social activities, and I know Brittany's got a lot planned. We'll post those up on our website and also link to the store where students can sign up. I think that's it from us. I've noticed that there are a few questions in the chat, so let me just go through those and see what I can answer. So there's a question about health services. We do have health services that we recommend, particularly in the areas where our student residence halls are. But there are NHS services around the capital that, you know, according to where you live, may be better. Sorry, I'm bringing up.
Pardon me, Miss. I
Yes.
couldn't hear you. But I have question about. I have admitted on to Richmond University, Richmond American College. Hello.
Congratulations. How can I help?
Sorry, have I disturbed?
No, that you're right. You're at the right place. How can we help you?
Pardon me, I haven't heard you.
Do you have a question? Oh, I think we lost him.
I think you've muted yourself, Manuel. Let's see if we can change that.
I'm trying to see if I can change his settings. Well, while we're doing that, let me just answer the other questions on here. So the National Health Service or doctor's offices are really by location. If you are living, for example, in Northwest London, you would get a general practitioner or a doctor in that area. And there is a website run by the National Health Service where you can put in your postcode, a bit like TripAdvisor, where you get a whole list of doctors and doctor services, and you can sign up to one of them. So we can certainly help with that. We are much more experts on the areas where our residence halls are than we are on the entirety of London, but chances are we can help in any occasion anyway. Okay, so the question, I think there's another question about travel insurance, travel coverage, is that right? You looked at several plans and we're not a cover location. I would say the private medical that I see most often in London is Bupa or AXA. Bupa is BUPA and AXA is AXA. I know they both exist in America. I'm not sure if they do in other parts of the world. but they have private hospitals and private doctors and facilities in and around London. So I would suggest starting there. Certainly email us at studentaffairs@richmond.ac.uk if you're struggling, and we can help out. There are discounts on, that is correct, Bupa or AXA, you got it. There are discounts on tube passes. There is an 18+ student Oyster card. An Oyster card is basically a travel pass that helps students get around London, and it is contactless. So just ding it in, tap it in and tap it out. As a full-time student, whether you're here for less than 6 months or 4 years, it doesn't matter. You are entitled to 30% off of weekly and monthly travel while you're studying full-time. So it is a really good deal. Travel is by zones, and Chiswick Park is in zone 3. Most of the sites that you will recognize from the movies and television are in zone 1. So if you're traveling through zone 1, it's obviously a little more expensive. But traveling around zone 3, and a lot of our students will live in zone 2 to 3 or possibly farther out, you can save quite a bit. So 30% off of weekly and monthly travel. Brittany's got it there. Thank you. I think Brittany's just answered our question about Indian students. Yes, we do have a club that's run for Indian students by Indian students. As far as I'm aware, we don't have a club for Ethiopian students, but we would love to start one. So if you are on board, we will talk to you at orientation. Diversity and inclusion is really at the heart of what we do at Richmond. So we are very excited to welcome international people and learn about their lives and what they do. We are contacting students initially to their personal email accounts. So the email that they would have corresponded with Richmond with in the admissions process. And to that email, we will send information about how to connect to Outlook, Blackboard, and self-service, which is another platform showing registration. If it becomes early August and your student has not received this email, please tell them to contact us because it should go out in a batch to everybody who's accepted an offer with us. I don't believe non-degree students, that is visitors, take placement tests, but Maggie, maybe you could chime in on that.
Hi. Some of them do. So, so I believe some of the USC, SMU, and Tulane students do take placement tests.
Okay. All right, good. I think that is based on the type of courses you're taking. So if you are a business major, you will be taking a math placement test.
I'm sorry.
Yes, unless you love math, and then that's a great thing.
Exactly. I'm not a math person, so.
Yes.
Sorry, Maggie, just to clarify, USC students will not be taking any tests from this year. And I'm pretty sure SMU and Tulane will not take any placement tests either. So
Good thing Kiara's on this call.
Lucky you guys.
I think
yeah, so you're fine. You don't have to take any placement tests.
all right, good to know, Kiara. Thank you. I think the placement tests are really about, the value in them is trying to get students into the right courses to ensure that they're not bored, or to also ensure that they're not concerned that things are out of control and difficult. But it sounds like any visiting student from one of our US programs won't be doing that. Okay.
Yeah,
yes.
Madam, so I hope, can you hear me well?
I can, yes.
Oh, that's great. So my concern was about the health surcharge for the visa that we should pay. I mean, for how many years should we pay? Is it for the duration of the course? For example, my duration of the course is 4 years.
Yes.
I applied for computer science. So, but I read in the website of, UK, it says that you should pay for the duration of the visa. I mean, some visas may last longer than the course itself. For example, you may be issued a 5 years visa. So you should pay for 5 years, not 4 years, not the exact duration that. So is it? I am confused about that.
Yeah, no, Jim, maybe you want to respond to this.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess it is for the duration of your, well, I should say it's the duration of the leave that you're granted. So if your course is 4 years, you'll be given some wrap-up time at the end of 4 months, 3 months. I can't remember now, Alison, if it's 3 or 4 months, and my mind's got blank.
3
3 months. There we go. So it would be for when you fill in the visa application, you would enter your start date and your end date, and it would automatically calculate the IHS amount for you based on those dates. But yeah, I mean, it's for the duration of leave that you're granted. So if it's a 4-year course, then you'll be paying 4 years and 3 months.
Oh, that's great. 4 years and 3 months. That's all right.
Okay.
Just
I have a question.
Mm.
Hello, everyone. I'm Father of Hamid Shahab. Right now, we are in our software house. I'm also software engineer, and
Okay.
my question is about this course. That this course will be for the for how long? Like 4 years. He will be studying general courses, general, or he will be studying the programming, database, like network security. Which type of course will be more discussed in this course?
Okay.
In this course.
Which course have you applied for?
Computer science.
Okay, well, that sounds like a good fit. Yeah, absolutely. So there will definitely be elements within that course, but obviously we're an American liberal arts university, so there will be, within your program, there will be some classes that form part of the core curriculum and general education requirements. So you wouldn't be studying computer science exclusively. Certainly at the beginning, your curriculum would be more varied. And as you progress through your degree, you'll begin to specialize more sort of exclusively on computer science. But yeah, if you're looking for those types of courses that you mentioned, programming and data analytics and things like that, then you've definitely chosen the right course.
Yeah, we have universities in here in Afghanistan also,
Mm-hmm.
but my main requirement, I have a software house, software development company. I have customer. I need to train Hamid for the future to handle my customer. So in the software development, database administration, these kind of customer I have. Day by day, I want to give the full responsibility to my son Hamid Shahab and also Mohammed Shahab. He is also a programmer. Right now, he's under 18, and he is also under 18. So right now, he want to go to the UK to get the visa for, and he will continue the course. And my main requirement to come back and to continue my business. To give support to my customer, because we have a family business. Software house is my family business. Me and my sons are working with me and here in Afghanistan and also in other countries.
No, well, I think that the course that you've chosen is the perfect course, and it's technology is evolving so rapidly, so we are always looking to bring in new modules and ensure that the content is as up to date and relevant as possible. But yeah, if you want to have a sort of separate conversation looking into more detail at the electives and the different modules that you'll be studying as part of the course, then we can absolutely arrange a call and go through that with you so that you feel reassured that you've made the right choice.
Okay,
would that be
thank
helpful?
you. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. What I'll do, I'm going to put the admissions email address. This obviously is for everyone as well. But yeah, I'll put that into the chat, and then you can let us know when would be a convenient time, and we can arrange a meeting.
Okay, so
is that okay?
Yeah, that's okay. That's
okay.
great.
Thank you.
Great. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. So there's a few questions about changing of financial situation. If a student finds themselves in a difficult financial situation, obviously they should come and talk to us in the Student Hub. There are options for student emergency funding, and there are also options for bursaries that may not have been given at the time of admission. What we're really looking for is for students to excel academically and to take part in our community in a positive way. So certainly ways around that. We do support students with off-campus work. It looks like Brittany's answered a portion of this. We host a part-time jobs fair for students where we bring local employers onto campus and they talk about options of working in the local community. We also help students to navigate on-campus jobs. Many of the students who are employed by the university are employed by Student Affairs, so mentors, tutors, residence life, and others. School accommodation, so the university accommodation that we're offering is not available outside of term time. Our contracts are specific to the term dates, but there are lots of options for student accommodation in London. So if a student wants to stay over the holidays, there are options to do that in a number of different locations. We support students living with disabilities through the support of our Student Accessibility Officer, Alice Fillingham. We do ask that students identify their specific needs in advance of arrival so that we can help plan. Our campus is entirely accessible, so if somebody is in a wheelchair or has other mobility concerns, we can work with them. Sadly, the rest of London is not entirely that way. So if you are mobility challenged and you may need some assistance in getting to campus, please do let us know. We can help navigate or help you navigate the city, which can be somewhat confusing. Classes do have caps on them. Once they reach a maximum number of students, we either open another section or we ask students to consider alternative classes that may also fulfill their degree requirements for the term. And that will all happen through registration. If you're a visiting student just coming for a short term, your priority registration will be before the arrival of the degree students because your needs are clear from your visiting institution, which sort of courses you need in order to transfer back. If you do have an individual education plan, yes, that should go to Alice Fillingham. I think for now, just send any correspondence to us at studentaffairs@richmond.ac.uk, and we will pick it up and make sure it gets to the right person. Yeah, the question about scholarships, it is possible to apply for a scholarship after arrival if you don't get one at the admission stage. As I mentioned, what we'd really be looking for is excellent academic progress and a commitment to our student community. Gaurav, you had a question about the math placement test. It sounds like USC students aren't taking those anyway, so don't worry about it. You shouldn't have to take a math placement test. And if you're taking calculus this summer, I'm sorry. But also congratulations. I think that's probably enough math for you. Brittany, or no, Gemma has helpfully put in the TFL Oyster card link. Thank you, Gemma.
No worries.
Click on that, you'll see what the application process is, and you'll also get an idea of the cost of travel in London. I would suggest if you are staying in Hammersmith or West Kensington in Zone 2, you at least get a Zones 2 to 3 pass. If you decide to sign on to Zone 1, it will be a little bit more expensive, but remember you're getting 30% off of weekly or monthly travel. Okay, the health surcharge, I think we answered that one. The health surcharge is per year for the entirety of the course. And I can't remember the cost. Gemma, do you know the cost of the annual health surcharge? I think it's £1,000.
700 and something. I can double check that per year. Yeah.
Yeah, so when you complete your visa application with your CAS number, that's the confirmation of acceptance of studies that you would get from our admissions team, it would show a start date and an end date. and the duration of the visa is the entire course. So it could be 3 years, 4 years, a year, depending on what you're studying.
Yeah, it's for students, £776.
Okay, better than I thought. £776. That's great. Yes, if you haven't received our housing application or assignment, you've completed a application but haven't received your assignment, let us know. Brittany, there's a name in there for you to follow up.
There was a question, Alison, about internships, about being able to complete an internship after completing your studies. So I guess it can be part of your studies, but I'm not aware of students then completing an internship after they've already completed their studies. But I may be wrong.
No, you're right. An internship is generally part of a degree course. But if you complete your degree and then want to do some work experience abroad, there are visas that you could potentially qualify for in America. And I would suggest that you come and talk to us in the Careers and Internships office and in the Student Hub, and we can walk you through that. There are a number of different pathways, kind of short-term pathways, usually six to 9 months, for international people to get work experience in America. And there are some qualifications that are required and other things, so worth a conversation for sure. I don't believe we can ship things in advance to Hammersmith because the building is let out to other occupants until we arrive, so I would not suggest that you do that. There are ways often that you can ship things to a holding place where packages can be delivered and collected. And a lot of people do that in a big capital city because they're not often at home to meet the postman. So that is an option, and we can send you some information about that too. So the deadline to register for classes at Richmond will be that Friday of orientation. If you are a visiting student, you're coming from USC or SMU or one of our other partners, generally you will have had that done already. But we do ask students to be registered the Friday before classes start on the Monday. And if you're attending orientation for that entire week, I hope everybody will be doing that. It is very easy to get this sorted early on in the week so that you're not left to the last. We can definitely forward you the video of the Hammersmith apartment. Sorry about our IT connections today. And there's one name in there, Brittany, about, or it looks like you've got it, about roommates. Right. Any other questions we can answer while we have you here? Recommendations for banking. I hate to say this, but I think most high street banks are very much the same. I would say the closest to the Chiswick campus, and we are losing a number of branches, physical branches for banking here in London because everything's moved online. The closest is HSBC. They are an international bank. They certainly have links in Asia and I think in the US too, possibly Canada. They are the bank that the university banks with, but they are also a really great neighbor to us, and they plan to be on campus to support students in opening bank accounts during orientation. So I would recommend them. But there are certainly, Barclays, Royal Bank of Scotland, NatWest, they're all very similar. I would ensure in opening a bank account that students make sure they get a student account because you can get some good freebies that way. Phone services for US kids, mobile phones have advanced a lot in the UK and in Europe. So I think we are often over here a little bit ahead of technology than what you find in the US. It is possible to get a virtual SIM that allows you to have a single phone, but 2 numbers on it, one UK and one US. Most of our students here, or a lot of our students here in London, use 3 as a mobile network, but there is a service called Voxy, which is VOXI, that offers some really great student discounts. So service, I think, will depend on how you use your phone. If you're making calls or you're using data or you're operating off of mostly Wi-Fi, those are things to think about when you start to set something up. I do know some US students in particular, some Indian and Pakistani students as well, who never get a UK phone number. They always operate off of their international number because they can do so many things on Wi-Fi. So something to think about. I think it really depends on how you use it. We will be hosting FAQs on our website, so your suggestion is one we have definitely taken on board. I mentioned that we will soon be launching a fall 2024 orientation page on our website. As soon as that's available, it'll be sent out to all of our new applicant or new offer holders, and they can view it. And the FAQs will be in part some of the questions you asked today. Okay, any other questions we can answer? Yes, go ahead.
Hello.
Hello.
I thank you for this information session here. Quick question about the money in banking. I've been hearing a lot about a card called a Wise card, and we were thinking of relying on that entirely to send money to our daughter and have our money take money out of that, and also have her use that to pay for rent and things. Have you heard of that?
I have not. Is that it sounds like a debit card, or it sounds like a card that you load cash onto and then make payments with. Is that right? Yeah.
Correct. And what the internet talks about is saying that it's the most used for international students. So I'm a little surprised you haven't heard. That's yeah, basically it's a debit card.
They're tooting their own horn. And is the Wise card something you get through your bank, or you do this?
Oh, it's an online type of bank only, so it doesn't have institutions.
Okay. So there are a number of online banking options in London, and probably they do offer that. I haven't heard it called that, but some of the banks that don't actually have a physical presence but are just online tend to be ones that students often sign up with because they don't have to have a physical address and they don't have to go through the same security checks that you would have to do at HSBC or Barclays or some of the other. So I imagine this Wise card is something that would be offered through those banks as well. My worry, in offering some of the online banks, I think there are many of them, and I don't have a way of evaluating which ones are legitimate businesses and which ones aren't. So I would just be careful about that, obviously. But certainly Monzo and some of the other big names.
Revolut, I think.
Revolut. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just going to say that same thing with Wise. I personally haven't used Wise, but I'm from the States and I now live in London, so I need to transfer money back and forth. And I do use Revolut, which sounds very similar to what you're talking about, being able to transfer different currencies to different countries fully online. There's no physical bank or anything like that. So I can personally recommend Revolut. Obviously, I don't know Wise, but if it is anything similar to that, then it is very useful, and I could recommend something like that.
Well, great, thank you. Yeah, we had a little trouble with our son in Spain getting a security deposit back because our banks weren't talking bank language that were equal. So we're looking for a nice, nice source to be able to translate back and forth. Thanks.
Sure. I'm going to investigate Wise now and see what I can find out. All right. Well, if you have no further questions, thank you so much for joining us. We will send out a recording of this webinar, and we'll also put together some FAQs. Oh, sorry, late question came in here. Students staying at Tower Hill accommodation, it's a 45-minute tube ride. I would say from door to door, it's probably about 60 minutes. It is in Zone 1, and you're traveling back to Zone 3. Question about housing, paying for housing. You can use a credit card to pay for housing. Yes, you can also pay via bank transfer. All right. Well, thank you again for joining us. We'll be in contact, and I look forward to meeting your students in the next couple of months. Thank you.